Welcome to this groovy edition of the Beast of the East. Man, I love this new intro music. It's really good. You can hear it in the background. I am your host, Corey Burton. Joining me is Craig Ladd. Craig, what's up, man?
Glad to be back, Corey. Nothing's worse than a summer cold, and I was in the grips of one this time last week, but feel much better.
Man, it's brutal. It's brutal. Colds are brutal. I guess with all the mask wearing and all the stuff we had with COVID protocols, that I guess it just got delayed, right? So
Yeah, you're right. It just really kicked my rear end, and but we're back to 100%.
good. Glad to have you back. Steve did a good job pinch hitting for you, but guess what? It just ain't the same, man. So
I'm sure the ladies liked him better than myself. That's for sure.
it's all good, man. But we are the Beasts of the East, coming at you live on Willis Digital Media. You can also pick us up on the Believe Podcast Network. These words are tough. The English language, words. Anywhere you find your podcast, you can find our show. So feel free to click on there, listen, give us a shout, like, subscribe, follow, all that good stuff. We're covering the SEC East. We got a great show. We are presented by BetOnline. However, the summer is rapidly closing. I use school as my benchmark for the summer rapidly coming to a close. If you're into sports betting, BetOnline is where you should go to win money today, whether it's live bets on games or futures or who you think will win the championship. BetOnline has all the latest odds, news, info for all your online sports betting needs. If you want to bet on the Braves, they're red hot. So go bet on the Braves. And visit the website today. Use your mobile device, join, and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit, no matter what device you use. So before the next big game, head on over to BetOnline and start playing today. BetOnline, your online sportsbook experts. Craig, we got a lot in the news, man. Scott Cochran is taking a sabbatical. Needed some mental health, I guess, and some physical health. So he's taking a sabbatical from the Georgia coaching staff. So in steps Will Muschamp, title to be determined. But as of right now, he's kind of just filling in as special teams coordinator. But you might see some reshuffling of the deck here. What do you think about this move?
Surprising, to say the least, Corey. But you wish Scott well, as he's obviously if he's stepping away from it, it's that there's some things he needs to take care of, and well, I'll say this: a lot of people don't believe this, but guess what? Life it goes on, and football is not life. You got to take care of your personal life. But it was surprising. Like I said, it came out of the blue to me. Mm-hmm. Will Muschamp is a guy, obviously he's Georgia through and through, even though he's, had coaching jobs at Florida and South Carolina. But, his roots, obviously, he was a terrific player at Georgia. And, he and Kirby are big friends. So, I think this is basically a year early. I think this time next year he would have been a coach, a position coach somewhere on the Georgia staff.
Yeah, no doubt. And he might have stepped right into that defensive coordinator role because Georgia's defensive coordinator, Dan Lanning, is a rising star. There's no doubt that he would have gotten some sort of head coaching opportunity. He had probably a few, but he would have gotten some even more after what's looking to be a special year for that group. But nonetheless, you get some shakeup, and you get a guy on the field that's been great as a head coach. You get him who's been great as a defensive coordinator. He's done some really, really good things despite a terrible ending at Florida and a terrible ending at South Carolina. Just could never figure out how to recruit on the offensive side of the ball. So as a head coach, maybe he wasn't the best, but as far as defensive knowledge and position coaches and getting guys motivated, he's one of the best in the business. It just didn't. Some guys just aren't head coaches, and Will Muschamp just is not a head coach, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth, Corey. I agree with you. I just don't at this point. I think at some point he probably will get another chance to be a head coach somewhere. But I'm like you. You were at Florida and, things unraveled there. And obviously, Florida is a terrific job. I mean, you're not lacking for any resources there.
Right.
South Carolina, another really good job. Obviously, not as good as South Carolina, but just equally not to success. And you're right. He never seemed to be able to get that offensive coordinator pick just right for him. And that's very important if you're concentrating on the defensive end of things, to be able to get a guy in there you can trust and know that he's going to do the job. He was never able to do that.
No, he wasn't. And that's a shame. It just, but like I said, some people just aren't meant to be head coaches. He just could never get it figured out, could never get the recruiting going, had a ton of draft picks from the defensive side of the ball that came out of South Carolina and that came out of Florida. So the guy can develop talent. The guy has a great culture around his program. It just wasn't quite up to snuff. So that's okay. Now he steps in at Georgia. He's going to recruit as a position coach now. I don't know what he does besides, does he have a big role in special teams in the meantime? Is it a situation where he's helping out with a certain position? Maybe him and a die, maybe they split the defensive backfield, and you have a lot of legwork with the special teams analyst as far as scheme goes. I don't know. That remains to be seen. But I'm excited to get that head coaching experience out on the field. You need another set of eyes. You need another perspective. You need somebody pushing back a little bit on Kirby. So I guess to kind of keep him in check, or kind of just remind him, hey, we gotta get this thing going, or hey, let's let the offense get their teeth going. So they did a red zone drill in practice. I think they're day 2 or day 3 in training camp now. Offense led off the drill, scored in 3 plays. So to answer the question, is Kirby going to let his hand or let his foot off the throat of the offense? It appears so. The offense is looking very, very explosive. Brock Bowers and Brock Vandegrift, both Brocks on the roster, are looking quite impressive. So one of the big storylines, of course, is that backup quarterback job. Who's going to get it? Brock Vandegrift, Carson Beck, or is it Stetson Bennett? To me, I think eventually Brock Vandegrift's talent is going to be hard to keep out of that spot. I think he's going to end up winning that job. He's been looking impressive so far in camp, but so is Carson Beck too. So it's going to be down to the wire. This battle might kind of go back and forth all season long, actually.
Yeah, and you wonder too. I like JT Daniels. I loved what I saw of him when he was starting, but we have a small sample size, Corey. So, there's still just that little bit of question there. And you wonder how quick of a hook Kirby would have if he needed to.
Yeah, you gotta think that JT Daniels is not exactly the most mobile of quarterbacks. So what if he takes a big shot?
Right.
What if he goes down, which is very, very possible. So who knows what's going to happen and how far along Brock Vandegrift is coming and all that good stuff. So it's going to be exciting. It's going to be exciting to see how that quarterback competition goes. I think JT needs this competition. I think he needs somebody like Brock Vandegrift to push him and make him even more focused than he is. The intelligence that JT has, the experience that he got early on at USC, and of course stepping in last year after his knee was finally cleared for play. Had a pretty gruesome knee injury at USC, so just now recovering from it about a year and a half later. So it's not but now he's fully healthy. He trusts that leg, and you could see at parts last year, Craig, that he just did not trust that leg when he was making throws. He left some throws short because he just wasn't driving all the way through it.
Yeah, you're right. You're exactly right.
And also, and we'll cover this some on my Believe in Georgia Dogs podcast too, a little bit more in depth. But the first injury bug has bitten the starting center, Warren Erickson. He's out with a hand injury right now. So Cedric Van Pran is getting some first team reps at center. That's a kind of a tight battle. So a little bit of bad luck for Warren Erickson, but this offensive line is going to shake out pretty interestingly, because the ultimate goal would be to get Amarius Mims at left tackle and Jamari Sawyer back down to guard. But do you stick a true freshman in against Clemson? No, not a chance. So Sawyer's been getting left tackle, first team left tackle reps for right now, but the goal ultimately is to move him inside.
Mims would have to be have an incredible camp in order to get that start. You're exactly right. That is a lot of pressure on a critical position on your football team. A lot of people don't think, oh, it's the quarterback, the running back, but I'm telling you, that tackle position there, you're out there on an island and you're going to be facing a tremendous athlete, whoever's out there for Clemson, who has some great speed. So something he has not seen in high school, even though he was highly decorated in high school, has all the measurables. But, to stick him out there the first thing right off the bat against Clemson, that you're right. He's going to have a great camp for that to happen.
He is absolutely, because it's one thing to have a ton of talent, ton of physical talent, and have all the tools and measurables and all that stuff, but you can't stick a true freshman out there against Brent Venables. That's like dangling an injured fish in front of a great white. I mean, that's bad. That's bad news right there. It's a recipe for disaster. And Georgia's in a position to where they don't have to. You like my analogy, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
But yeah, they're in a position where they don't have to do that. So why would they do that to themselves?
Yeah, like I said, I mean, he's going to have to, like I said, he is going to have to be head and shoulders above someone else in order for that to happen. And then I still wouldn't think it would happen, to be quite honest with you, because you know how coach is going to lean on experience much more than they are, a true freshman. Even though he may be the best player out there, that doesn't matter. I can remember, Jamal Lewis for Tennessee was the best running back, but he was a freshman. So guess what? He didn't get to play as much, even though he was the best running back they had.
Exactly. So you got to earn it. You got to earn your stripes. You got to earn the trust of not only the coaching staff, but those around you. So yeah, I definitely agree with that. So let's move off of Georgia. If you want more Georgia camp information, apparently the Believe Network has their own YouTube channel. They've been linking our Believe in Georgia Dogs show on there, and they're going to start probably linking our show in addition to Willis Digital Media, the Beast of the East. The latest Georgia Bulldog show has gotten 800 and counting likes or views. So it's like vastly outperforming every other video that we've put up, Israel and I. So I'm excited. We're rapidly approaching 1,000 views on that one. So check that one out for sure. So Tennessee, I know you're a Vol fan. I know you want to rock and roll with them. Have you been keeping up with practice very much?
I have somewhat, yes. And we talked a little bit before the show and talked about the quarterback situation and obviously the number of candidates for the starting job. And at this point, there's not been a tip of the hand as to which one leads, etc. So, I fully expect there's no way you're going to keep all those quarterbacks around starting game one. Someone will transfer. There's no way to keep all those guys there. So it's going to be interesting to see what ends up happening, where he chooses to go. And I don't necessarily think that the starter in game one is going to be the starter in game two.
Exactly.
I mean, it's that fluid as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I mean, there doesn't seem to be any guy in this group with, realistically, it's Hooker, Milton, and Bailey. I don't think there's any one guy that really jumps out ahead of the other guy because they all do something differently well, and none of them do anything significantly better than the other. So they all have different skill sets, but to me, not one of them jumps out. Like Hooker and Milton looked solid today. Harrison Bailey took he had a little bit of an off day. I think he was missing a few throws, and maybe the race is getting to him. I don't know, but who do you anticipate winning this job?
Wow, that's a good question.
At least for week one.
At least for week one.
Let's just say week one.
Wow, it's to me, it's a toss of the coin. To be quite honest with you, you would think obviously if Pruitt was still there, that obviously Bailey and Maurer would have the advantage because they played a good bit last year.
Mm-hmm.
But you got a new coach coming in, and everybody starts at the same level. So at this point, they all started the same. Nobody had an advantage over the other one. So it's pretty interesting. I still go back to the fact that they took Joe Milton in the summer, which told me that they were not satisfied with what they had seen out of the quarterback position. And just based on that, I'll give Milton the nod there because, like I said, I just don't think they would have taken him unless if they were happy with the position. I'll say that.
But I watched Milton at Michigan, and he just was okay. But
yeah,
is it just Michigan and what they do, or why does he not jump out of the page at me?
Well, I mean, you're right. He has all the measurables. I mean, 6'5", 244 is what he's listed at. He's got, a cannon for an arm. He has all, he will wow you. But again, you're right. He did not wow anybody at Michigan. So you got to wonder, will he get under Heupel and blossom? Who knows? That's the $64,000 question at this point. And
yes, exactly.
Like I said, I just don't. Purely based on the fact that they took Milton during the summer is the only reason I'm picking him so far in this. Just based on that, really. And like I said, they've done a really good job of not tipping their hand. They've been
I don't
pretty
think
equal with everything.
I don't think there's a hand to tip right now.
Well, that's true. I mean, if they do like one in particular, they're leaning towards, you're not going to, at this point, they're not showing it.
Yeah, I don't think they know yet. And to me, I think Hendon Hooker made a mistake leaving Virginia Tech, where he was the dude. And Harrison Bailey, I wish Pruitt would have developed him a little bit better. I think when you look at the skill set that's needed for Josh Heupel's offense, I think he has the skill set. Does he have the mental part of it? I don't know. He seems to be struggling a little bit right now as far as with his accuracy. Does Joe Milton have the skill set for this offense? I guess obviously he does, or Heupel wouldn't have taken him. But it's going to be interesting. It's going to be fun to watch coming down the stretch. This is obviously going to be the headliner of Tennessee fall camp. You're going to see those quarterback battle day 1, quarterback battle day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5. It's going to be a daily thing, especially with it being such a high profile position. But whoever wins this thing, I think will be in good shape with Josh Heupel calling the shots. And I got to say that Kyler Kerbyson, I have to keep hating because I'll lose my dog card. But in all seriousness, don't tell anybody, but I really like Josh Heupel. I really think they made a good decision. They're going to be fun to watch because they're not going to be able to really stop anybody, but they're going to score some points. So don't hold. So dog fans, earmuffs. Tennessee will be a problem in 3 years. They will be a problem in 3 years.
Yeah,
they got the roster is terrible. So here's my thing on Tennessee. A lot of people saying, well, Tennessee's going to suck this year. No, they're not going to suck. They're probably going to win a lot of games, but there's a difference between sucking and not winning a whole lot of games. They're going to be competitive and probably be on the losing end because of depth, because of roster, the talent disparity of rosters, and just things that you can fight as hard as you want, but you're just not going to win. This is kind of like a high school problem for Tennessee. You have the haves and the have-nots. It'd be kind of like Cookeville going against Oakland. For those of you that live in the great state of Tennessee, like there's only so much Cookeville can do, but they're just not going to pull through. And that's what Tennessee's going to be week in and week out in this league. So they're not there yet. They're not going to suck. There's not a team in this league that I think sucks. There's teams that play hard that are behind talent-wise, but there's not a team in this league, all 14, that suck.
Yeah.
Right. There's teams like Syracuse. Sorry, Syracuse, y'all suck. Right. There's teams like Kansas.
Oh yeah,
sucks.
I'll give you that one. Yeah,
Texas Tech,
that one
sucks. Right. Rutgers, they used to suck. They're getting competitive now, but Maryland, they used to suck, but they're getting competitive. Like there's some teams that used to suck that don't suck anymore. But like when I say a team sucks, they make a ton of mistakes, they have a ton of penalties, and they lose. They have stupid losses, and their losses usually come from bonehead plays.
I tell you what, Corey, looking just at the first couple of games,
That's
obviously
the most positive way I could say they're going to win 3 games.
Yeah. Just looking at it, they can't take anyone for granted. That includes Bowling Green to start off the year. Correct. I think they'll beat Bowling Green? I do. The next game I think is a huge game for them, and that's Pitt. Pitt is a game that they could win. Pitt's got a good
do anything team on offense. Pitt can't do anything. They are really good on defense.
Yeah, that would really be a good win for Tennessee, in a win that they would need to go into the gauntlet of their SEC schedule.
Yeah, exactly.
So we'll see. That, like I said, they can't take Bowling Green for granted. They can't take anyone for granted. So but I think they'll beat Bowling Green. And then that Pitt game that'll be a huge game for them. And that could be an indicator of how many games they're going to end up winning, because it's a game that is winnable. There are some games on their schedule that are not winnable. That game is a winnable.
Exactly. So I look forward to seeing what Tennessee can do. Hopefully they prove me right. I think they're just going to have problems with their lack of depth on their roster. I think they're going to play exciting football. I think they're going to be good down the stretch. How about we go down I-40 for a minute? Have you seen these new Vanderbilt? Have you seen their they got a new look, new identity, new everything. Like they're hitting home runs left and right. Pun intended, because their baseball team is good. But this uniform reveal, I really think they're hitting it with this. I'm a big fan of it. And Steve is the president. I'm the vice president of the Kitten Seals fan club. So I'm here for these uniforms. Do I think they're going to win? Do I think they're going to finish second in the East? No, not a chance. But there are a lot of good things coming from Vandy Camp.
Well, as far as the uniforms go, I like the uniforms. I'm not in love with the helmet. I'm not in love with the V. To me, your logo is the star with the V in it. I don't see that V anywhere, as a solo logo. I don't dislike it, but I would like the star V better. Star with the V in it. And to be quite honest with you, I did not mind the anchor and the chain on the helmets last year. I thought that was kind of a cool look.
That was a cool look.
But you can't continue to change uniforms as much as Vanderbilt has. You got to have an identity. You got to have that iconic symbol. Let's be quite honest. How many times have Alabama's been that boring red and white with nothing but a number on the side of their helmet for many, 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 many years. That's their identity.
Well, I guess if Vandy starts winning, they can finally, whatever uniforms they're winning in, they can just go with that. They're just searching for something. They're trying to get rid of the Derek Mason stink too. So I don't blame them there.
No, I don't know. I don't blame them either. Like I said,
I like the retro look a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like, I like the uniforms. Don't love the helmet. I don't dislike it, but I just would gone with the Star V.
They're going with the Vandy Boys hat look, where it's got
Yes,
the stretched out long tall V
that's
on it.
right.
They're hoping to catch some of that magic, which it's not a bad place to look because Vandy's baseball team is obviously the best team on campus. So, whatever they need to do, like I said, I like the retro look. I like the big tall V. I think it's a good change up, but at some point, they need to get back to the star with the V in it, or maybe if they start one of these, that becomes a logo of the past, kind of like the Detroit Pistons when they briefly went to that look that they had in the late '90s, early 2000s before they changed back to their original red, white, and blue. So I don't know. They're just trying to find a fit. So I don't blame them, but you know, as we progress from the uniforms to actual practice, I noticed that in the video clips that they showed, they're wearing numbers. So that's a step in the right direction, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
it is. You're
So
right.
so yes. Um,
And I like the fact, they're doing sort of a Friday Night Lights thing for practice.
mhm,
I like that. You've got to do everything you can do to stir up some enthusiasm with your fan base, with your players,
yeah,
etc. Because I mean, let's face it, uh, you know, there's not been a lot of success over there since James Franklin left, and
exactly.
he had things rolling. He had enthusiasm, the fan base, etc. And it's gone downhill since he left. And so, you've got to do things a little against the grain in order to get some people back in the stands.
Yeah, there was a tweet on the jersey number stuff. Clark Lee said that on jersey number selection that he is not using repeating numbers, and players who did not earn a number by the start of preseason practices had one chosen for them. So I kind of like that as well. But yeah, I mean they've for Vandy, it's not necessarily right now about X's and O's and really even about the players that you have. It's about getting enthusiasm around your program so that you can start the recruiting process. Like they're still trying to figure out how to get out of the gate in recruiting. And they've got a long way to go. So they're trying to get things like Friday. I mean, they're going to have to do probably a lot of Thursday games if they want to. I know the SEC is not really enthusiastic about playing on Thursday nights, but for a squad like Vandy, they need to figure out how to get in the limelight as much as possible, and just start drumming up some excitement. You're exactly right on that. They've got to find that enthusiasm. They've got to do things like Friday Night Lights. They've got to have, visible practices. They've got to just find ways to get fans in front of their product, or get their product in front of fans, I should say. So whatever they can do, they're going to have to get creative. That's for sure. And our guy, Barton Simmons, is the guy to do that.
I'm just thinking back to Vanderbilt. To me, it starts with that stadium.
Mhm.
I know they have plans to
Oh
do a lot of
God,
renovations and do things, but
it's been
that
overdue since
stadium.
Kurt left it.
Oh yeah, exactly. I was about to say that it's been 40 years since they've really done any major improvements to it, and it looks it, to be quite honest with you. It's not a fun experience to go to a Vanderbilt game. Um, just for various reasons. They are short on restrooms, and thus it is halftime is chaos to get to
Yeah.
the get to a restroom at Vanderbilt because there's just not that many in there, and that makes it bad. And like I said, it's just not fan friendly. It looks old. There's nothing about it that makes you go, "Hey, wow, this is really cool." No, nothing. There's nothing about it that is that, and it just you can't if you're going to be in the SEC, you can't just continue to collect that paycheck and not put it back into what is the cash cow for the conference, and that's football.
Yeah, absolutely. So got to figure it out, man. Got to figure out how to make it marketable. I don't think it, like I said, I don't think it matters about players right now. It's all about fans. So, speaking of fans, speaking of teams that look and need a boost, let's go down to Florida for a second. Let's so we're gonna go past. So we've talked Will Muschamp, check. Tennessee, check. Vandy uniforms, check. It's pretty sad when that's your top headline. Looking at them Gators. I know, it's the Gators, but a lot of interesting things from camp there. Two of the biggest stories right now, defensive line. They got a lot of transfers. Seems that they are having a major impact there. And then, of course, life after Kyle Pitts. Obviously, Kyle Pitts was the centerpiece. So looking at these tight ends, when you look at the Gators, and this is Gator, my reference point here is Gators territory, which is part of the Rivals, network. My friends down at Rivals, Declan Walsh is one of the contributors over there. So you look at Kyle Pitts, you look at replacing him. Not an easy thing to do. He had just a few yards and a couple touchdowns and a few highlights, maybe. I don't know. He's going to be playing football in Atlanta this year. So Tim Brewster comes in as Florida's tight ends coach, and he's got quite a project on his hands right now. So when you look at this tight ends room, what jumps out at you?
Well, I don't know that anything jumps out at me. As you said before, whoever replaces Pitts is going to be a shadow of him, basically, meaning nowhere near his talent. I mean, there was not. The guy was amazing. He was a huge wide receiver, if you want to say that. He was not anything like any tight ends normally are. He could really move, had terrific hands, had plenty of size, but was just incredible. And, there's a reason he was a very, very high draft pick by your Falcons.
Oh yeah. He's and well deserving too. Apparently, he's making some noise in camp. Not to be a beast of the NFC South, but he's making some noise at Falcons camp, and he has a lot of viral clips. So look forward to seeing what Kyle Pitts can do for the Dirty Birds. But Kenmore Gamble is a name. Keon Zipper, Jonathan Odom. Are guys that I think will contribute a lot at that position. Tight ends coach Tim Brewster said, quote, and this is according to an article on Gators Territory, he said, quote, everybody says we're going to miss Kyle Pitts. What are we going to do without Kyle Pitts? Well, guess what? Kenmore Gamble's going to be the best tight end in the SEC. What do you think about that? What do I think about that? There's a lot of tight ends in this league that have something to say about that, Tim Brewster. Like Wiedermeyer at Texas A&M, I guess Darnell Washington at Georgia. That's two that are probably better than Gamble.
How about Mr. Gilbert?
He's not really a tight end, but
he's still going to be. I guarantee you, he'll be considered a tight end.
Yeah, he will be.
Yeah.
But I mean. This guy might be good. I don't know. Gamble might be good. But to say that he's going to jump in, I mean, obviously you're the tight ends coach and you have to say that, I think, and I appreciate him saying that. I would say that myself. It wouldn't matter if my tight end was ranked 14th in the league. I would say that he's going to be the best in the conference because what else do you say? I just, it's just coach speak to me. I think Kenmore's going to be good. But is he going to be the best? No, they're probably not going to use the tight end all that much. They're probably going to run a lot with Emory Jones, and they're probably going to take shots downfield. It's probably going to be a lot of the Tebow offense, the Dak Prescott offense, the all that stuff. Like Emory Jones is not Kyle Trask. So if you're expecting Kyle Trask, you're expecting the wrong thing, Florida fans. Like, don't expect Kyle Trask. Expect Emory Jones to be more like Nick Fitzgerald. He can get the ball down the field. There's going to be inaccurate at times. Probably going to get banged around some. You're probably going to have that. You're probably going to have that backup quarterback ready, because if you run the quarterback as much as they're going to have to, it'd be stupid not to have the backup ready, because your guy's going to take some shots. So, but the tight ends will be used as necessary. So I think that'll be interesting, to say the least. But what about the D line?
Well, to me, that's really a strength of this team. They have some really good players on there, and I thought, really, to be quite honest, they underachieved last year compared to what I thought they would at the beginning of the year. And like I said, I think that's going to be a strength of this team. And let's be quite honest, I think this defense is going to have to carry the team early on, especially. When you got, even though Jones has some game experience, but he hasn't been the man yet, and there's a difference.
No, he hasn't been, and they've got a few guys. They've some transfers here. John Greenard from Louisville. He was a success story as a transfer. Then they're bringing in two other guys on the defensive line, one from Auburn. I'm trying to find his name. Daquan Newkirk from Auburn, and from Penn State, Antonio Valentino. So they're really dipping into the transfer market here, which is, I guess, a good thing in the short term, but really a bad thing in the long term, because you're going to have a giant hole that you may not be able to fill, because, well, you haven't really had as much success recruiting as everyone would like you to, like the level of recruiting that you should have at the University of Florida. You don't have that. So you got to be careful with this transfer market. But I guess the transfer market and the transfer portal is going to be a lot bigger of a market now than it ever was. So I guess it's not a horrible thing, but you got to be careful. Like, these guys, you don't know what they have. You don't know what chemistry they bring. You don't know if they're all going to leave at the same time and leave you kind of scrambling. Who knows?
Well, I think the fact that they're counting on, as you mentioned, counting on a lot of these transfers is an indicator of their woeful recruiting for a team like Florida, where it's located, the number of players in that state, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I agree with you. That's a bad indicator there. Now, I can see, for example, Tennessee, obviously they had to have a lot of transfers because they had a lot of guys leave. So there's a big difference there. For example, Alabama was, very few. Obviously the headliner 2020, but very few. And like I said, I agree with you. That, to me, that's a bad indicator of how your recruiting has been.
Exactly. And so they're going to have to pick it up a little bit, and they're going to, he's going to be forced to make a decision at the defensive coordinator spot with Todd Grantham. It's going to come to a head. Grantham, he's never fixed the problem of, he's an NFL guy that's trying to install an NFL defense with time restrictions on practice. It'd be like Sean McVay coming to Hillwood and trying to install his Rams offense. It just won't work because it's too much. You can't remember it. You can't learn it. And it's, I don't know. They've got to make a move there if they want to jump to the next level. Like, you have to find a coordinator that can recruit. I don't know that Grantham can recruit all that well. So, let's let's do it.
Do you think, let me ask you this. Obviously, there were a few dust ups with him and Mullen during the year, that were caught on TV. Their defense was not up to Florida standards last year by any stretch. Do
Right.
you think if they start off and get giving up a lot of points and the defense looks really bad, do you think he makes a move during the year, Mullen?
I think so. I think I think he has that frame of mind. I think I'm surprised that he was able to come back to start the season.
I agree.
I thought he was as good as gone.
Yeah, I agree with you.
So no, it wouldn't surprise me, but it also wouldn't surprise me if he held on to him for the remainder of the season, knowing that, they're let's be honest, everybody's fighting. I mean, I know they got to play the games on the field, and this league is far from guaranteed, but Georgia's loaded. So I don't know. Uh, I don't know. Like you start struggling, you got to make a move. But what does he do? Does he potentially sacrifice this season early on, like week 4?
Yeah.
I don't know. Or does he? To me, I feel like you would give him a chance to kind of turn it around, and just knowing that, hey, I can't really go and get a defensive coordinator right now, unless there's a guy that you really like on staff that you would like to give a partial season audition to, which would be like Christian Robinson, right?
Mm-hmm.
Christian Robinson, I think, is going to be a star as a coach. I hope he's not a star at Florida. I hope he's a star somewhere else, because I just don't want him to be good at Florida, because I just can't handle that, right, as a Georgia fan. But I do think Christian Robinson is going to be a star in the coaching world. Played at Georgia. That's not why I think he's going to be a star. I think he's really good. If you follow him, you'll know. Great recruiter. And I think he has a really good defensive based knowledge. Played for Grantham at Georgia, and came on board to work with them. I think that he can kind of take that defense and make it really, really good. Their linebackers play outstanding because Christian Robinson has developed them. Like there's certain aspects of this defense that play really, really well. So they have some good assistant coaches. I just think it's a scheme thing for Florida. It really is. Like if they get the right coordinator that can develop all the pieces and put enough scheme together, they're gonna be real good, real fast. And you might have to cut Grantham out of there and just see what. So give Christian Robinson a shot mid-season. I'd be all for that. Especially if I'm a Florida fan. Florida fans don't know what they have in Christian Robinson. I don't think Christian Robinson's good. They need to give him a shot.
Well, there's no doubt Grantham's on the hot seat. I could
it's
probably make an argument that
it's
of the
way
assistant
past
coaches
hot.
out there, he's the seat is hotter for him than any other assistant in the SEC.
Oh, for sure.
And
For sure.
So the fans are already howling. They howled during the year, and then they were very vocal after the debacle against Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
So, it may come to a point where it's just so much that they're going to have to make a move. Who knows? Like I said, I just don't, when you make a move mid-season, that says some things. Just like, when Pruitt, he fired Jimmy Brumbaugh, his defensive line coach. That's a bad sign. That's a bad sign. And, that was a precursor to, not saying that Jimmy Brumbaugh was the reason, him not being on the team, being a coach was the reason that they faltered. But it's a bad sign. It's a sign of desperation. And let's be quite honest, it's not like Brumbaugh had any track record at the University of Tennessee. It was his first year, so that's a bad sign when you're doing that. And as you said, writing on the wall, Tennessee's season just went in shambles.
It did. It really did. So who knows? Maybe Florida's got a tough mix of games. So who knows? Like I said, they got a tough mix of games. It's not guaranteed that they're going to get through that gauntlet unscathed. So I don't really know. So keep your eyes tuned on Florida. Obviously, defense is one of the bigger stories in that bunch. They've got to find something. They've got to find something to hang their hat on. They got to find some success if they want to have a chance of keeping that defensive staff intact.
Yeah,
So,
and then I think on offense they've got to find some playmakers. Now they may be there, and we just haven't seen them yet. But on paper, they're not there at this point. And if you don't have, and it's hard for me to believe that it's hard for me to hear myself say that a Florida offense doesn't have playmakers. That's unheard of.
Exactly, but you lose so much at one time. It's it's kind of a tough deal. So. Kind of a tough deal. So let's real quick before we go. Have you heard anything about South Carolina?
I haven't. It's been pretty quiet as far as I'm concerned. Nothing really heard anything that really jumped out at me whatsoever. I think like Tennessee, like Vanderbilt, they're searching at this point. And it, to me, you could group those three together, and I might give Tennessee the nod over the other two there, but not by much. Right. We shall see. They could end up surprising some people. I don't think that'll happen. They could end up falling flat on their face. I don't know, but I just don't see. Again, I don't see the star power there. Obviously, I just don't. I just don't see it. And let's be quite honest. Tennessee with Josh Heupel, you go, oh, okay, they've hired an offensive. I'll say, I won't say juggernaut, but a guy who's known for his offense and has proven that he can put really good offenses out there on the field. Shane Beamer.
Yeah.
What do you say about that? Where do you go with him? I mean, you got Clark Lee, Notre Dame defensive coordinator, did a really good job, put really good defenses. But where's okay? When you say Shane Beamer, you go, oh, he's a what? I mean, what is he known for?
He's known for. Okay, maybe he's known for. Hell, he's just known because his last name is Beamer. I don't know. He's been good everywhere he's been, but what would you say if you didn't, if you knew very little about Shane Beamer and the pedigree that he brings? What more would you say other than he's a Beamer and he's probably good at special teams? What else would you say?
Oh, I agree with you. I agree 100% with that. As I said, to me, the difference between Vanderbilt, Tennessee, and South Carolina are Heupel and Lee versus Beamer.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I don't know. I'm looking at Gamecock Central and looking for some of the headlines and just kind of seeing what I can see and seeing what I can find and what the buzz is about. Because sometimes you get a lot from just what the buzz is from the fans. What is everybody interested in? Because it's one thing to report on several things, but what is everybody kind of interested in? Where's all the information gravitating towards? And fourth on the list on the forum is people raving about this catch from Brian Edwards at Las Vegas Raiders camp. That's kind of where we are with this bunch. So it was a pretty good catch, though. It was a nice catch. Yeah. I'll give him that. But I think it's I don't know. It much like Tennessee. Yeah, I picked South Carolina dead last, and I think the difference is coaching between them and Tennessee and Vandy. I think it's gonna be Tennessee, Vandy, South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
And it's coaching. Not saying Heupel's been a head coach. That's kind of where I'm giving the tiebreaker between those three. Clark Lee's in his debut season. Shane Beamer's in his debut season. Clark Lee at least has a defensive pedigree and identity and building a super strong culture there at Vanderbilt. Not saying Shane Beamer's not building a great culture at South Carolina, but like, what's really their identity? We don't know. Like Vanderbilt's going to play defense and they're going to run the ball and they're going to get back to kind of that James Franklin type style of play. Super aggressive, super physical, make you not want to play them again type mentality. Josh Heupel is going to go, if I'm using if you allow me to use a basketball reference, the Nolan Richardson 40 minutes of hell, except it's 60 minutes of hell. Like they're
Yes.
just the blitzkrieg offense, right? And then you have South Carolina. Like what are they going to do, right? What are the Gamecocks going to be? We don't know. We don't know yet. We have to wait. It's a wait and see for them. So for now, I'm gonna wait and see before I take them out of the out of the seventh spot in the East. So that's South Carolina. So um, you know, Craig, that's going to do it for us. Lots of. I'm just so glad training camp has started because we can just kind of breeze through a lot of the storylines, breeze through some of these forums, just kind of get a pulse of what's going on. Because at the end of the day, we're for the fan, by the fan. Um, I'm not a beat writer. You're not a beat writer. We're kind of just we're kind of just enjoying this from a different perspective, and that's kind of what we're all about. And so this is fun and gives us stuff to talk about. So I'm super excited that we're finally rolling right along. And there's going to be the East, albeit not as much star power in the East as there is the West, but this is going to be a super competitive league. It's going to be a fun league to watch because a lot of the new coaches are over here. You have Kentucky, who's discovered the forward pass. You have Tennessee. I don't know. Like, what are they going to be? Well, we know they're going to be high powered on offense. Can they stop anybody? Probably not, but that's okay. They're going to score a lot of points. What is Missouri going to be with Connor Bazelak? Super talented, super promising. Kiki Chisholm, really good target for him to throw to. Is their defense going to improve? Maybe, maybe not. We don't know how they're going to replace Larry Roundtree. Georgia, with all this loaded roster, can they get chemistry? Can they find that playmaker to step up at the wide receiver position? Remains to be seen. If you want to hear our conversation about it, go check out Israel and I's show from last week, and you'll find out kind of where we stand right now on the whole wide receiver position. So just lots of questions to be answered. How is Florida's offense going to fare? What are they going to look like? Who's going to emerge as their playmakers? Can the defense actually stop somebody and get off the field on third down? We don't know. Grantham Seed is red hot, like we just discussed. So, like I said, lots of storylines. It's going to be fun.
Well, we're not far from having our first game. So it's, Tennessee will start things off on September the 2nd. That's not that far off.
Nope, not at all. Not at
So
all.
it will, it's going to get down to the nitty gritty. And, as the weeks go on leading up to the season opener, we'll have many answers to questions that we have right now.
Exactly. But we'll have more to come in the coming weeks. You have us every Monday to lean on and say, what's happening in the East? Well, we got you. And we got you covered. So that's going to do it for us, Craig. It's been fun. But we'll pick it back up next week. I'm sure we'll have a host of other storylines. We got plenty of quarterback battles to report on. We'll check in on those Wildcats of Kentucky. Also, we'll give them a look. We'll give Missouri a look next week. Probably we'll circle back around to Tennessee, see where they stand with their quarterback battle, and of course the Bulldogs. We'll check in on them as well. I'd be remiss if I didn't. But we'll try to focus on a little bit more of the East since I get my Georgia fill with the Believe in Georgia Dogs podcast. So, for Craig, I'm Corey. We'll see you back here next week. We are the Beasts of the East, presented by betonline.ag. So long. See you later. Have a great week. If you're starting school, be careful and enjoy. We'll see you back here next week. Goodbye.
All right.